proud of our guys. Just coming off bye week, their preparation, everything that they did all week, their investment level. Tremendous job by our coaches. It's a team win. Wasn't perfect in either phase, or I guess all three phases. We overcame some adversity that were big. I mean, we had a drop touchdown right at the first play of the third quarter. Some things on defense, but I'm going to tell you what, we did a great job in our front seven, stopping the run. I mean, anytime you hold any team under 50 yards rushing, that's a tremendous job. So hats off to Keith Patterson, the entire defensive staff, our defense. And thought Jordan played well, Ron Quavy and Jalen. I mean, usually big players got to make big plays in games like this. And look at it across the board. I thought both running backs made plays. Senior Aaron Vaughns, I already mentioned Jalen Green and Tarv, Rockmore, Gage. There's a lot of guys that stepped up our D-line, led by Chris Unga. I'm just really, really proud of them and the effort that they put forth. That's a big win. That's a big program win. It's, you know, our mantra really all week was one game, you know, one trophy and a lot of pride, and that was it. And it didn't have a lot to do with the Mountain West, and I wanted to make sure that that was pretty clear. I think you just heard that from John Trell, and it's one game, and there's a lot of pride for us at Utah State in a game like this. And so really, really proud of our assistant coaches and our players. Can't be more proud of them. So go ahead and open it up with
what is it about, Coach, what is it about the bye week that, I mean, you're 7-0 now as a head coach after the bye week. What is that? I mean, I know you mentioned that, you know, you guys were locked in and focused, but just you guys continue to win after that bye week.
I think it's a credit to our players. We've kept the same schedule all 7 bye weeks, and it's a mix of conditioning and practice and young players and recruiting. I've gone over it a million times. I don't know, there's just, I think our players have bought into it, and everybody around the complex knew we were 6-0 coming off bye week. Does that automatically give you win? Heck no, no way. But I think it gives everybody a sense of confidence, and I think that was breathed into a lot of those players by our assistant coaches, and they worked hard, and they had a good week, and they came out and played well on a big stage.
Man, I mean, how much did your defense set the tone with pick six and your ability to swarm to their running backs? I mean, you're really
stopping the run. Number one thing we needed to do. The pick six by Tipa was obviously a momentum changer early in the game.
Obviously, historically, the rivalry between these two teams, you guys had beat them in back-to-back games since like the
44,
70s.
1973, the year I was born, 1974, the year after.
Exactly.
Perfectly aware.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How much did that factor in going into this game, and how big is this win for your team and for the program?
We're not going to it has nothing to do with the Mountain West. It has everything to do with a lot of pride. A lot of guys that have played at Utah State before us, before me. It was a big one for us 4 years ago when we came down here in 14, because that was 38 years since Utah State had won in pro, on 44 years since we won back-to-back. Yeah, they knew. I promise you, our players knew that. That was a big deal. But it doesn't win us a bowl game. It doesn't put us in the Mountain West Championship in the month of November. So we'll keep it into perspective. There'll be a lot to correct. Just like John Trell said, I think you saw is some senior leadership that says there's a lot of good. We'll praise a lot of the good. We'll correct a lot of the bad, and we'll go right back to round 2 in the Mountain West starting on Monday.
To rush for 223 yards against a pretty physical defensive front. What does that say about your offensive line and the running backs?
I think it says a lot, Dana. I think that was going to be something that we talked about all week is stopping the run on defense and running the ball when we wanted to run the ball. It's one thing to say it, and it's one thing to go out and do it. So my hat's off to the O-line, every one of those guys across the board, tight end Dax Raymond, Carson Terrell, both running backs. I thought our wideouts blocked really well on the perimeter. So we block for each other. If you don't block, you don't play in this offense, and David Yost makes that really clear.
It was a decent ending to the first half, good last few plays by the defense, but you really came out and asserted yourself the first few drives of the third quarter. How big of a deal was that?
I think the opening drive of the third quarter was huge, huge. And there was the drop pass on the first play, just a little bit of, but we overcame. What a play by Darwin Thompson, maybe the play of the drive. When we threw the ball in the flat, and he broke some tackles down the left sideline down there, or my left, or as we left. But, yeah, I thought it was a tremendous drive by the offense. And, it's kind of like we do what we do at the end. We throw a fade ball to Tarver, and he comes down with it.
Coach, early on, 4th down, going for it and getting it, instead of settling for 10, going up 14, how big was that for confidence?
I think it was real big for our guys. Yeah. Anytime, it was a big play by Jordan, tremendous vision. What concentration by Gerald Bright. I mean, that's probably the hardest ball to catch is when it hangs in the air forever and everybody in the stadium knows you're wide open. So, great job by him.
Coach, before that last drive, BYU had like 14 total rushing yards. Just talk about your defense and them stepping up and stopping the run and what you guys did tonight to do that.
Before the last drive of the game?
So before that last drive that they went down the field, they were sitting 14 rushing yards.
I didn't know that. I would try not to over-exaggerate. That may be that's a tremendous performance. And like I said, it's led by Keith Patterson, our defensive staff, and those guys on defense, especially the front five. And my hat's off to them. And that's an unbelievable job by them, shutting the run down.
Talking to some of the players on the field, it was almost like, they were celebrating, they were happy about it, but it's also like they expected it, and that culture is games like this and dominant games like this. Is that kind of the culture that you're trying to create?
It is. I'll take that as a compliment, you saying that about those kids. I think they do expect to win. I think they expect to play well, and they know if we play well, then we're going to put ourselves in a position to win a game. And I have a lot of respect for Kalani, the entire staff. I know a lot of those guys. I've coached with some of them, coached one of them. And it's a very good program that it's a really good rivalry. And so when you can win a game like that, our guys are going to celebrate. But they understand. I think maybe some of it was they understand that the Mountain West is coming up and we got 7 straight weeks of one game at a time. But can we win each round and put ourselves in a position in November to compete for a championship?
You talked about the maturity of this team. And when we talked about it last, it was a little too soon. What more can you say about the maturity of this team?
It's starting to show up a little bit, and I appreciate you re-asking that question. It's starting to show up, and time will tell. But I see it in practice. I don't see them letting success or wins or people to pat them on the back. The first way I usually notice that is in practice. Their practice habits slip. They're lackadaisical. They don't spend as much time. We have a lot of guys that spend a lot of time in that complex. They go to school, but they spend a lot of time. They're a bunch of football junkies, and I think their practice habits are extremely good. And I take confidence in the way they practice and the way they invest, and I think that's a sign of their maturity.
Are there any other differences between this team and maybe the last couple of years that, as far as other changes besides maturity?
I think we have more talent. I think our recruiting's been pretty good, and our development, and there is some good maturity. I think you kind of put all that mix together, and you win a close game against Air Force. We needed that. We needed a close game like that. We're going to have a couple more. You got to win games like that to have a special season, but that's kind of probably the 2 or 3 things that I see as a difference.
There's some really great play designs tonight. The throwback to Joe Bryant's on the big jet sweep was a beautiful play. Just gonna say that. But was there anything like particular that you saved for this game? Maybe on like a couple of first games, trying to keep in the back pocket for situations.
I think there's wrinkles each week that you have. We have wrinkles in all 3 phases. Certainly game plan during the week, and bye week gives you a little extra time.
Can you talk about your sophomore quarterback? No turnovers, no sacks, very efficient tonight again. 5 touchdowns he accounted for. Just as he continues to grow and gain that confidence, because a lot of people kind of think he might be the best quarterback in the state right now.
Well, I think the key for Jordan is to continue to remain hungry and humble. And that's what I've seen, going back to my answer really with you, that's where I've seen Jordan is his practice habits have been extremely good. He's been very consistent, and all he does on game day is a reflection of what he's done all week, and so I'm really proud of him for that.
Coach, there's been a couple big wins like this in the program recently. Boise State won in 2015 last year against BYU, and you guys have kind of faltered after those games. How do you really make sure?
We didn't falter after the 2014 win.
Okay, how do you replicate the 2014?
We did after the 2015 win. Well made. I think it's hopefully going to go back to us as coaches and as players, and kind of what I mentioned right there to Isaac. I mean, I think there's a maturity factor that has to kick in. The maturity and the experience factor have to kick in to where we go right back to work. If our guys will remain coachable, if they'll, they can handle praise and handle criticism at the same time and continue to work, it's just going to be, 1 week at a time, and I think that's what we have to do. And real talk, in 2015, we lost a couple close games, and we kind of lost a little bit of mojo. And that's football. If you can win a couple close games, you get that mojo, and the big nose starts rolling downhill, and we're going to have to win some close games coming up.